All right, welcome in, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for those of you who are here with me live in the room. I'm so excited to be with you. And also, thank you for everybody who's watching on the replay. I know a number of you have asked for this replay link. Here it is. I want to invite you to grab a notepad if you're into writing with a pen, or if you like to open up a Google Drive doc or maybe like a note on your phone. I am going to share some links in a little while, so you might want to be able to grab something out of the chat box there and then put it on your document, okay? All right. Let's see here. Let's get into it. For those of you who are here live, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself in the comments, in the chat, if you like. Your name, your pronouns, and what industry you're in, I think would be really great to share if you're up for it and if you're not driving or doing something else. I'll introduce myself while you're doing that. So my name is Kiki Lovelace. My pronouns are she and they. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, a sister, a daughter. I'm a dog person. I'm an avid East Bay Hills hiker, a lover of good food and cocktails, as many of us are who live here in the Bay Area. I am a longtime Pilates and yoga studio owner, a real estate investor, author of the upcoming book Dream Team Leadership, and the breadwinner in my family. But I most certainly, my friends, did not start out this way. I started playing around with the magical practice of stretching time more than a decade ago when I was working 70 to 80 hours a week building my first company. And I was in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, about $300,000 worth of debt to be exact. Now I run three businesses: my studio business, my real estate business, which I've been running in support of a family member, and my coaching business, all in about 20 to 25 hours a week max. And I spent a lot of that time serving as a business coach and mentor for established founders and entrepreneurs. Some of them are in this room right now or watching on the replay, ready to build your team, your marketing, your sales systems, and to expand your business so that you can add a minimum of six figures in annual revenues while cutting your work time down to just 4 days a week, 20, 25 hours max. This year, I'm projected to increase my studio revenues by 80% compared to last year, which is absolutely unheard of. I just want you to know. When you've been in business as long as I have, a typical increase would be 0 to 20%. 0 to 20%. When you've been in business for like 5, 7 years or more, 0 to 20% is good, great, perfect. So 80% year over year is just absolutely unheard of. And I'm so excited to share with you how I've made that happen in this completely disastrous timeline that we are living in with all this political nonsense that is going on, the destruction of our democracy, and all the uncertainty that I know you all have been feeling in yourself and also, I'm sure, with some of your clients and customers in terms of our economy right now. So before I get into it, who just came in? Oh, it's Baby Doe. Hi, Baby Doe. I'm so glad you're here. Before I get into it, I want to mention that I have a free gift for those of you who stay for the whole call or who watch the whole replay, a lead nurturing template that me and my studio team use every single day to track new students and convert them to long-term members, clients, and customers. This tool makes me thousands of dollars every single month, and I cannot wait to give it to you at the end of this call. I also want to mention that I have a unique, like literally once in a lifetime opportunity to work with me privately that is only available through this coming Tuesday, the 30th, at midnight. And it's my most premium long-term private mentoring package for 50% off, which is just like bleh, crazy. This is perfect for those of you who are at mid multi six figures and seven figures, and you're looking to scale sustainably with smooth daily operations, a drama-free dream team, tons of personal time for your family, for your health, for your wellness, for your spiritual practice, etc. And at this level, I just want to acknowledge that you won't really have the time or the bandwidth or patience to watch endless modules on an online course or like show up for a 75-minute group coaching call. And I recognize that. Like you've been there, done that, and you're just ready to move forward. So I've designed this private mentoring package to be extremely time efficient, to be super bespoke. It's just me and you in conversation throughout the month, and super potent so that you can implement your new ideas and strategies with like a day of within a day of thinking about them, which is how I do. I like have a thought and like it's in action within 24 hours for the most part. Now, sometimes I want to mention that I sometimes sit on my thoughts for a minute because they're not quite ready to come into the world. And that is, there's an art of discernment there in terms of like right timing. So I acknowledge that. But for the most part, I love the freedom in my businesses because I am the boss and I get to make the decisions of like having an idea and just like putting it into play. And I think that's part of why I've created so much success in these different businesses in these different areas is because I'm willing to experiment and I'm willing to just fuck around and find out, see if it'll work, right? And like have my failures, but also maybe because I'm willing to fail so often, I often have success as well, right? So I'll tell you a little bit more about that offer a little bit later, but I want to get into it. So if you are taking notes today, here we go. I'm going to talk about six different upgrades that I think it's six that I've made some of them over the last couple of years, but mainly I'm focusing on this year because I really want this to be timely for you so you can find out what the heck is actually working right now in this wild world that we're living in for us service-based small business owners. So, yeah, here we go. So, the first thing I want to say is more of like a mindset and an approach. And excuse my French, but I like to call it the fuck it. I'm just going to do what I want to do mindset. Fuck it. I'm just going to do what I want to do. So please write that down at the top of your page. Fuck it. I'm just going to do what I want to do. Um, and I will tell you, this totally came out of essentially being forced to pivot my studio business because of COVID. So, like, I was trucking along before COVID. I had like a very profitable studio business. It was super leveraged. At the time I was again I was only working like 20 maybe even less at that point. I think it was like 10 hours a week when the pandemic hit. And I was just like many of you, I was forced to pivot my business. I pivoted my business model, my business delivery systems. I actually pivoted some team members. There was a lot of things that had to change in order for me to survive the pandemic, my business to survive the pandemic. And in fact, over a course of like 2.5 years, I had to pivot my business 3 times just to get through it, just to muddle my way through that time. And so by the third pivot, I was really at this moment of fuck it. I was just like, first of all, I'm just so done. I wasn't even really wanting to pivot anyway, right? So I was just so done with it. And I was at that point like, you know what? If I have to start over again, I'm just going to do this in the way that I want to do it. Instead of the way I think it should be done or the way it has been done by other people in my industry, I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I kind of know what I'm doing here, right? And I'm just gonna fucking do it. I'm just gonna do it and be unapologetic about it. So, how did that take root? I priced my new services really the way I wanted to price them. Finally, I priced them properly. And what that looks like is that my services are priced about 30% higher than most everyone in my community. So I priced it higher. And that for me worked well. It was aligned for me. I know that might not be aligned for all of you, but I just want to say I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it. And the reason I wanted to price it that way is because I knew my numbers well enough to know that the way my services were priced before the pandemic and these certain revenue streams, they weren't priced for profit. And so if I was going to redo this, I was going to price them properly so that it was a built-in, baked-in profit and not a struggle for me to scale that profit. So that's number one. I also was like, fuck it. I'm just going to create the kind of studio culture that I feel I'm really behind. And that is one that is trauma informed, that is consent based, it's inclusive, it's diverse, and it's unapologetically political. My brand takes a stand And all of my clients know where I am politically and really where the entire team is politically. We have woven the political into our brand because of the choices we're making and because of the way we market and because of the culture that we create inside the studio. And so I'll give you just a quick example of that. Like in my studio, we use consent chips for hands-on assist, where you can flip to yes or no, which just opens the conversation about consent. That's a more inclusive choice. Another thing that we do is we have every student grab a sticky note before class, write their name and their pronouns. And I just want you to know a lot of my straight, cisgendered people are very confused about that. They're like, why, Kiki? Why are we doing this? Why are we? Even my teachers have been very confused. I've really had to educate them over the years about why we share our pronouns. And what I always say is, hey, we're co-creating culture here by all of us sharing our pronouns. We create a more inclusive space for our queer, trans, and non-binary students. And let me tell you, the queer, trans, and non-binary students are coming in droves here because we have made a space that is a little bit safer for them, a little bit more comfortable for them than perhaps a traditional wellness space. So those are just a couple examples of that. Another fuck it moment for me was really just looking long and hard at my marketing strategies for my studio and and just getting real about what was working and what was not working. And what I'll talk a little bit more about this later. But what I really came to realize over this last, I would say, year and a half is like social media is not important for my studio business. All of you know that I use it almost every day for my coaching business, but it is not important for my studio business and it is really not important for my real estate business. And so I got super clear on that because I don't love creating content for my studio business on social media. It just feels like a chore. And so at the beginning of this year, after pretty much ignoring my studio socials for a year, I was like, I'm just gonna like turn off these accounts. I literally don't have a social media account for my studio business anymore on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and I don't care. And I will tell you, our sales are up 80% without a lick of social media. And so we'll talk more about how I made that work. But my point is I was just like, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. I believe that there's multiple ways. There's a million ways to make $1 million. So I don't have to do it in a way that I don't want to do it. Another thing that I changed, which I'll talk about a little bit more, is selling in the way that I like to sell, which is very direct. It's very conversational and relational. It's upfront. It's consent based. And lastly, I have just been so clear in these last, it's been more than a year, but it's been some years that I just teach in my studio business as much or as little as I like, and I don't feel bad about it. Sometimes I teach more. I've actually been teaching a lot more this year than I had in the years past. Sometimes I don't teach at all for years, and I just am like, fuck it. I just will do what I want to do because I know that I can serve at an extremely high level as a teacher, but I can also serve at an extremely high level writing 2 emails a week to my list or teaching my team how to be better salespeople or whatever, mentoring my teachers in how to write soap notes for their private, there's just a million ways I can serve. It's not just teaching that allows me to serve my dharma and serve my business and serve my community. So this is my first concept for you. What if you just said, fuck it, and did the thing you wanted to do so that you could not only grow a thriving business, but you could also grow a thriving business that you actually like? Because let me tell you, many of us have built thriving businesses, but we kind of hate it. And I've been there and it's not fun. So that's my first tip for you is like, what if you just do this? And I just want to say a disclaimer. This didn't work right away. I made this choice some years ago, and some of those things I told you about, like in particular the pricing piece and the culture piece, it didn't quite catch on. Like some of my students were like, what the fuck? That's too expensive. And then some of my, as I mentioned, straight cisgendered, mainly white ladies were like, why are we sharing our pronouns? So it took time for me to like get everybody on board and to really like magnetize my aligned team members, my aligned clients and customers, and just be okay with the rest of them that aren't into it, aren't into the way we do things. So that took time. I just want to say it wasn't like instantly I just like made a bold choice and then it worked the next day. It wasn't like that. I had to choose that over and over again and believe in it for some time before it actually really started to work. And now it's really working. Now, number two is my second mindset piece that I really want to share with you. And coming out of the pandemic, okay, I got to back up a little bit. So before the pandemic, I had gotten a valuation on my studio business. And I had kind of had, some of you know that I kind of have my eye on selling it. I've had my eye on selling my business for some time. I got a really good valuation before the pandemic. And of course, that valuation, I didn't even ask anyone, but I assumed it went down because my profitability went down during the pandemic. And so when I came back after that third pivot, I took on an investor mindset. And what I mean by that is like from day one of this third pivot, I was like, I'm building this thing to sell. And so, what does that mean, right? Like for me, that meant a couple of specific things. I don't think I could get into all the things. Um, but, I have a specific number in my mind in terms of how much money I want to have in my investment accounts in order to retire. And part of the way I believe I'm going to get there is by creating a really strong studio that is sellable and then using that money that I get from the sale to fund a good portion of my retirement accounts. So, yeah, what I'll say about that is that when you have the idea that you're building something to sell instead of just to survive your next bill cycle or whatever, you make different decisions, or at least I have. I have made totally different decisions. And I really applied this investor mindset to the real estate business that I've been helping a family member with, and I've been essentially acting as CEO for the last 7 months. And it has been huge, like the growth that we've had this year, with the right team, the right capital, the right investor mindset, we have increased the value of the property in 7 months by $1 million. $1 million more in value in 7 months. We've also increased our monthly revenues by about 25%, and only like 7 to 10% is going to additional expenses. So same thing. With an investor mindset, it's made me more, it's funny because it's made me like, y'all know that I'm pretty risk tolerant, so that's like not a problem for me, but it allows me to take risk, but it also allows me to measure my risk. I feel like I'm less risk tolerant than I was before the pandemic because I realize how much risk there is being a business owner. So it really allows me to like look at each business decision and decide, is that a risk that is worth taking? Does that sound like a sound investment? Is it the right timing for that investment? I've just become a lot savvier in my investment mindset. Um, and I think that's been a huge reason why my studio business has grown so much because I'm building it for growth and for eventually selling. Mm. And by the way, I just want to say I have time for Q&A later. So if you have questions, just start to write them down on a page in your notebook. Okay. So before I get into a couple of the strategy upgrades, because I have about 3 different strategy things that are very particular and I think are going to be really useful for you to hear, I just have to mention that the third thing I want to talk about today is like a super woo thing that I've been doing. And what about the woo? I mean, you all know that I'm very woo, and I would say most of the people in my that are attracted to working with me are very woo. I actually don't really teach a lot of my woo in my private mentoring containers because most of you already can do that stuff in your sleep. So I usually more teach to my woo clients how to be more strategic, right? But I have to mention this because I really to me it's all the same, right? It's like what's happening in my body and with my relationship with spirit and soul. It's all the same as my business. It's not different. I don't think of them as different. I just think I'm like living this spirit-led life, and this is a spirit-led business, and this is like my spirit-led choices. This is a spirit-led like marketing asset that I'm doing right now. Like it's all the same. I don't see it as different. But the main thing I want to tell you about is that I have been in a certification program for feng shui for like 2 years, and I'm still deep in it. I'm like probably a year out from actually testing out and being a certified feng shui consultant. But I've been really doing a lot of spatial upgrades. in both my studio space and like in the office that I'm sitting in right now, as well as in my home. And I just have to mention it to you because it's totally part of why my studio business has grown by 80%. It's like 100% part of the of this like what I'm sharing with you. Um, and so a little bit about that, and I can give you some specific examples. You know, the main goal of feng shui, as I understand it, is to bring more qi, more life force into your space. And your spaces are they have a much bigger energy than you do as a human. And so and you know, we're sort of the way my teacher talks about it is like we tend to go for equilibrium. And so if we enter into a space that has a lower vibration than us, we will lower our vibration to sort of meet in the middle. Whereas if we enter into a space that has a higher vibration or a higher frequency, it will serve to lift up our energy to be more in that towards that vibration or that frequency. And so I've been really working consciously with my spaces, especially in the last year or so, to sort of bring them into alignment with my visions for who I am in my soul and my spirit, and also who I want to become in this lifetime, my future self. So I've been future selfing my spaces and sort of coding the decor to the energy that I want to create. So let me just give you some examples because I know that sounds so crazy and out there. So let me give you okay, let me talk about the office that I'm in. So I'm right now I'm in my studio office. I'm at the studio, I'm in my corner office. And before I even started this certification program or learned anything about feng shui, I was actually in a different office in the studio. In fact, in the very early years of Interstellar, I was tucked into a closet. An actual closet was my office inside the little staff room in the back. Um, and so, years and years ago, I was like, why have I stuffed myself in a closet? Like, that's super bizarre. So I moved to one of our office spaces. We have two office spaces in the back. But during the pandemic, I was like the only person in this space for 15 months, like literally. It was me in this space hanging out for 15 months. And I was like, why am I in the small office? Why don't I go into the corner office? Like the big, there's no one else there. And so even before the feng shui certification program, I chose a space that I felt like was appropriate for like the CEO that I was becoming, and that was proper to contain and to hold my vision, my brilliance, my intelligence, my ideas, right? So that was number one. But then as I started to learn more feng shui principles, I made some updates to this space. And I'm just going to tell you a couple of them. So one is that I coded the artwork to create a strong backing behind me. This piece of art behind me is actually very meaningful to me. It was given to me by one of my brothers before we opened Interstellar. It was like a blessing on the space and on the business from one of my very successful brothers. I have three very successful brothers. And so to me, this represents family. It represents the way my family, I'm very blessed because I have family that believes in me, most of them. Most of them believe in me. And that's what it represents to me. Another thing I was thinking about as I was thinking about telling you this is like, this is a succulent here. And I love that. I'm really into like sustainable gardening and landscaping. And here where I live in Northern California, succulents are very sustainable. Like you kind of set them and forget them. And they grow, they're very prolific here in the Bay Area. It's a sustainable kind of gardening that doesn't require a lot of water. We don't have a ton of rain here where I live. And so it's a very wise sort of coded towards sustainability, which is something I'm all about in my both in my business and in my coaching program. So that's one example. But in front of me, I won't go into huge detail about this, but I have an amazing, vibrant picture of Betty White in vibrant color, in sunglasses. It's an illustration of Betty White, who has since passed, was an amazing actress and comedian, and just a bright light of a human. And in some ways, Betty White represents to me in this moment of my life the kind of woman that I am becoming. And so I've got strong backing behind me, and I've got an image that sort of tells my subconscious, yes, this is where I'm headed. And it reminds me of where I'm headed in my success, in my lightness, in my vibrance, in my kindness, in my empathy, and in my abundance. This is where I'm going. So that's some examples. Um, a couple of other things. Um, Inside each of your spaces, there is something called a wealth corner. The wealth corner is when you enter into your space through the main door, it's the far left corner of your space. And the far left corner of this building is my corner over here. It's like right, it's like two or 3 feet away from me. And I just want you to know, before I started studying feng shui, there was a dead plant in this corner. I just could not bring it to life. It wasn't quite right, or I don't know what was going. We tried replanting it. I don't know if it just didn't like the sunlight that's in here, which is overhead, whatever. It just wasn't quite working. I tried for a while, but it was a dead plant in my wealth corner. I moved that out and I put a different kind of plant in there, a Monstera plant, which I really love. And it's doing beautifully well. It's in a beautiful pot. And that's what's in my wealth corner now. One more example for you. Um, this was something that my feng shui mentor told me because I told her what was going on in my studio business at the time. This is some years ago. She's like, "Where is your desk?" And I was like, "Oh, my desk is in my office, and it's turned towards the wall. So this is where my desk was before a year ago, and it was turned towards this wall, and so my back was to my business." And she was like, "Kiki, the feng shui is all about like you get what you see what you get, right? And so what's happening is your back is to your business. Turn that desk around, turn your chair towards the building, towards the business, and find out what opportunities you see." And that has been really helpful for me to have my desk in a power position towards the door and facing literally in my wealth corner towards the business. So I could probably talk about this. Maybe I should do another workshop on this, but I'm just going to leave that there. I have been working energetically on, as well as in my mindset. And in these next few items, I'm going to tell you about some of the strategies that have been working really well. But for me, this is a both and scenario. It's not one or the other. I'm here to share with you not like one tool that's going to change your life, but there are many different tools that you might find to be useful in creating success as a small business owner. And I'm here to share 6 of them with you today. Rachel says, haha, I work in the farthest left corner of your house. That's probably good, Rach. I love that. That's great. Awesome. And just FYI, all of my private clients now get a feng shui consult with me, a video consult. I always have them share in Voxer like a video tour if they want of their office or if they have a brick and mortar or of their home. And then I give them some feng shui remedies that they can use to usher in more peace, more calm, more abundance, more love, better relationships, etc. Because I believe so firmly in this way of um, using space to sort of hold the vibration of our future self and to help us get there more quickly. Okay, so number 4, let's get into some strategy stuff. I think you're going to like this. These are some strategy and business development upgrades that have absolutely contributed to my success this year, specifically in the studio business. And I think you'll find in certain ways applicable no matter what industry you're in, because I've been sharing these things with a lot of my current clients. I have current clients in lots of different industries, so not just wellness. But I've worked with people in coaching. One of my clients owns like a screen printing shop. So I've worked with lots of art makers, product developers and designers and distributors. I have like one of my former clients in here right now who runs an entertainment event business. Um, of course, I worked with people in digital marketing who do all kinds of marketing stuff. So I have a lot of different kinds of small business owner clients, and I'll share with you that these are very specific to my studio business, but I think you're going to find something useful in here because I found that all of these concepts are sort of universally applicable to a small business. So let me take a sip of water. And the first thing I want to talk about is in terms of marketing and branding, because I do believe, especially in this politically charged moment of life, I do believe this is part of why my business is thriving, even though everything is so chaotic out there. Um, so I mentioned this in earlier is that like I've completely embraced in the last 7 years taking a political stand as part of my brand identity. Uh, my studio is unapologetically diverse and inclusive. We have fat students, we have older students, we have queer, trans, non-binary students. We have people of all races here and nationalities. It wasn't always like that, but it is now because we have chosen to create a space that is and consciously inclusive. And sometimes I will explicitly talk about what's happening in politics or on the national stage in my email marketing. Just like many of you, I mean, those of you who are at least a white person like me, I was totally taught not to do this. But through my years of work with my anti-oppression and my anti-racism mentors, I learned that this is one of the conditions of white supremacy culture is like not talking about it, right? And so I'm positive this is a part of why my studio is thriving so much. Because for years now, we have made a priority of welcoming in explicitly people who are not historically welcome or maybe comfortable in wellness spaces. And we're not going to change our stance just because there's a certain person in power. So we are just staying steady, obviously, because to me, it's like so baffling that these like big corporations are like changing their stance completely. I can't even fathom that. So, in a more general way, besides that political piece, in a more general way, my branding, and you can check this out on my website if you want to, because it's a perfect way to see it. It's interstellaryoga.com if you want to take a look at that. My branding is modern and yet it's not trendy. It actually feels pretty timeless. Our pictures, our photos reflect the warmth and diversity of our community. They're not like generic pictures that you get off whatever those websites are. Like, what do they call those? Stock photos. It's not stock photos. It's like actual pictures of people in our community, and it really communicates that warmth and vibrance of our community. Um, my marketing, you'll see in our positioning statements all throughout the web pages, it takes a really strong stand as to like who we are, who we serve, the problem we can help people solve. And it positions us in a way that's very different from every other wellness studio in town, even the Pilates studios in town. And that's just good marketing, my friends. Like you can take any one of those pieces. I will even say them again because they're all so useful. So, number one, my branding is modern yet not trendy, it's timeless. My pictures, especially, reflect the warmth and diversity of my community. And my positioning, my words, my positioning takes a strong stand about who we are, who we serve, and the problem we can solve. And it positions us in a very different way than every other wellness studio in town. And so it really stands out from the crowd. It is not generic. It is absolutely going to repel certain kinds of people. They'll be like, ew, gross, I'm never going to go there. But also it acts as a magnet to my kind of people. And it has been huge in attracting the right team members and also attracting the kinds of students who actually really value our services and who are more than willing to pay over and over again to be a part of it. The last little thing I want to say about marketing is something I mentioned earlier in the call, but I just want to say a little more about it. So at the beginning of this year, I turned off our social media channels for my studio business. We've been leveraging instead this year, we've been really focused on email marketing, good signage out front. I updated our signage out front a couple times over. A fantastic website, which I'm always futzing with, and Google Ads to attract new students. And that little like that's the strategy of my marketing. It's working swimmingly for us. And I think this is significant because so many of you are putting so much focus into your social media because it's the trend of the moment. When in reality, in certain industries, social media is not important at all. It's just not moving the needle for you. And you know this if this is true for you. I'm not saying that if you have a yoga studio, you should not be on social media. Some of you actually have audiences that interact with you a lot on social media, and it's a useful way for you to get clients. But what I'm saying is, if you're not getting clients from social media, why are you putting in that much effort into it? And that's the kind of permission I gave myself in this over this last year or so is like, you know what? This isn't actually the way that I ever make sales or get clients. So, and I don't love it. So bye, bye bye. And so this is my permission to you, permission to stop doing the things for your marketing that aren't actually working and find instead a more aligned way to market your products and services. You can't skip marketing. So I'm not saying stop marketing. It's not like optional. Like if you are a small business owner, you have to market your services, but you can find a way to do it that's more aligned for you. And that's my permission and invitation to you is like, stop doing all this crap that you don't want to do and just find a better way to do it and then master that skill. Master that skill. Master email marketing. If you know that that's something that could work for you and you're willing to do it, just master it. Keep learning until you master this skill. Okay, number five of what's been working for us this year, sales. Oh my gosh, this year I've been hyper focused in my studio business on training up my front desk team to be ethical sales ninjas. That's what I've been calling them. In the beginning of the year, this included training and conversations about how to make an ethical sale, how to be just direct and not awkward and not weird and not pushy, how to make an ethical consent-based sale. Second quarter, we got really into what I like to call sales activities. You should write some of these down. The most important of which for us have been weekly or monthly personal reach outs to a small portion of our client and customer list. A lot of these personal reach outs, we have like one that we do on week one that we do on week two, one we do on week three of the month or whatever. A lot of these personal reach outs are to people who are ripe for a renewal, whether it's a new 10 pack or we have these VIP pay in full packages that are either 6 months or a year. So like if they're ripe for a renewal, they're kind of running out of their last pack, we make an invitation. And the way that we make an invitation is either via text or email. It's very direct. It says, hey, you have blankety blank left on your pass. Um, and if you buy your next pass today or tomorrow by the end of the day, you will give you, this expiring bonus or this expiring discount or whatever it is. So it's really time sensitive. They have to, and then we always say at the bottom, we say, would you like us to run that on your card ending in blankety blank blank blank? So that literally all they have to do is reply yes. We just make it so easy for them to renew. We make it so, so easy for them to renew. And we've made absolute rituals out of these sales activities. That's just one example of them. And it has been wonderful for our sales, absolutely wonderful for our sales. These things are not automated, they're actually personal. And that's, I think, part of why they're working is that they really are personal. They're either from me or my manager, and we know all of these people personally. And we are building relationship with them as well as asking for the sale. Now, in Q3, we've been doing a different focus that has to do with sales. We have been tracking our leads really tightly and taking the time to nurture them through that initial 1 to 14 days of them being part of our community. So we call this nurturing document the new client tracker, new student tracker. And again, if you stay to the end of the call, which we're getting to the end, but if you stay to the end of the call, I'm going to share a link to our template. And so, yeah, this is a spreadsheet that lists each new student and whatever intro offer they've purchased, and it tracks all 6 of our nurturing touch points that are not automated. So these are non-automated touch points throughout the initial sales cycle. And yeah, what I'll tell you about that is that it's just working really well. It's like we're paying attention to it. We have it open on the desktop every day. We look at it every day, either me or whoever's it's usually who's ever at the desk is like really hands-on with it. We make sure we're moving them along through the touch points. We make notes about what they've told us or what their intentions are so that all of us are on the same page so that whenever they're ready to have the real deal sales conversation, we all of us know what's going on with them and we can pitch them the correct package or membership. that would be aligned for them. Okay, last thing. So, number six, y'all know my actual specialty as a scale mentor is team and leadership. So I've got to mention to you what we've been doing on the hiring side of my business. We have been growing this year so quickly that I've had to move through two really big rounds of hiring. One was in the spring and one we just completed like 2 weeks ago. So that I can, and what I want to say about that. So because we've been hiring at such a big level, like in both hiring sprees, we hired one new administrative team member and then three new teachers. So it's like 8 hires. It's been really a big year, and I've had to really focus on team in order to support the demand of our students that are just coming to us in droves. So I've been really having so much fun optimizing our hiring process, just using the opportunity to like really get super skillful at our hiring process so that I can systematically attract dream team players who are professional, who are collaborative, who are timely in their communication, who are invested in our values and our mission and the way we do things, who are excited to be here and excited to sub and really beloved by the students and all that good stuff. And so, side note about that, if you want to learn my hiring process, I've been like documenting every single thing and obsessing about it. And if you want to learn that and incorporate that into your systems, you have got to join my Dream Team Accelerator. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but what I'll say is that you can DM or comment on any of my social content, the word team, and I'll send you a link to get started. And I'll put a link right now in the chat. This is just to get started in understanding the hiring process. Make sure it's actually something you want to invest in. It's not a very big investment, but it's enough that you'd want to make sure it's aligned for you. Just watch this webinar that's in the chat right now. So that's all about that 4-step hiring system. Okay, so we have a little time. Yes, we do. We have a little time for Q&A today. So I want to invite you to gather your thoughts for a moment if you have a burning question for me. But before we do that, I would love to tell you all a little bit more about that private mentoring container sale that I'm running right now. So, I have day-long private mentoring containers, like 2-week, 3-month, 6-month containers. But the one I'm really excited to talk to you about today is my year-long full service private mentoring container. I will put the link to my early Black Friday sale in the chat right now if you're curious to read more about it. This is 12 months of full service private mentoring at a crazy discount. It's 50% off the pay in full price. So it's 25K instead of what my clients normally pay, which is 50K for this exact same set of services. This is an intimate, super high touch, like one-on-one premium mentorship for multi 6 and 7-figure plus business leaders. It's for you if you are ready to expand your leadership, expand your business, scale your sales and recurring revenue, increase your profits, and build a truly extraordinary team that cares as much as you do about your mission and your services. And, what is that going to get you? That's going to give you a business that allows you to work as much or as little as you want, take big chunks of time off if that's something you want each year to rest or travel or spend time with your family or take care of your health or whatever it may be, work on your next entrepreneurial, endeavor. And if you so desire, just like me, it will help you position your business to sell. The results that my clients get in this program are absolutely phenomenal. Like Janine went from 5K months to 70K. I'm not joking. That is totally insane. Judy went from 7 to 8K to 30K average. Kelly went from 20 to 25K to 45K when we were working together in this program. Heather went from 15K to 40K over the course of several years and now has her sights set on scaling to 7 figures. And she actually believes it. When she says it out loud, she's like, yeah, I believe this is going to happen for me, which, would have been so far away when we first started working together. She was at like maybe 180K a year. But I want you to know my private mentoring, of course, is not just about the money wins. All of my private clients are playing just like I am for a life outside of entrepreneurship. So they're creating these results while significantly working less hours and scaling down their duties inside their business to only the things that they're really good at and they love doing. So these aren't the kind of results, my friends, that you can get in a 6-week program. I just want to be frank with you. Like, if you want this for your life, you will have to step into long-term mentorship, whether it's with me or someone else, whose energy, whose work-life balance, whose values and success you want to emulate. So for my private clients, no topic is off limits. We may have conversations. It's all bespoke and, just according to with the support you need, but we may have conversations over this next year about your sales, your marketing, your team, your hiring, your firing, how to communicate this or that, decisions about investments, about programming or policies, about accessing capital if that's something that is required for you to grow, managing your business debt, your debt mindset. Of course, we're going to have some conversations about your feng shui if you want a little bit of help with that. Of course, your self-care practice, your money mindset, your entrepreneur fortitude, and much more. We'll identify your goals together if you're not super clear on it yet. And it will be my job as your mentor to keep you on course throughout the next year to take action towards your goals and not get friggin' sidetracked. That's part of my job as your mentor. And to stay the course, whether you're having an easy day or a hard day, because there will be both, I'm sure. So yes, if you sign
Hi.
up for 12-month mentoring package before Tuesday, you will get an
Yeah,
advanced price that is 50% less than what I usually
I'm home. I was going to leave in five
have.
minutes.
50.
Bye.
Let me see who I can mute here. There we go. So, let's see. I just want to give you a couple links in the chat if you're curious about it. So if you want to read more about it and read some of my client results, here's a way to learn more in the chat. It's just kikilovelace.com/private. And then again, I'll just share one more time. So here's the link to the actual sale link, where you can learn more about like what's specifically in it, the deliverables, and how to pay and all that stuff. Lock in your price. We can start your 12-month of mentorship either next Monday if you want an October start, or I always start in the beginning of the month. So we could start November, December, January, or February. That's the last month that you can start if you purchase this by Tuesday. Okay, I think it's time. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I think it's time. Oh, got to give you your gift for staying all the way through. Here's that new client tracker. You did it. Here's the new client tracker. You'll see this link is a Google Doc link. Let me just put a little label on it, new client tracker. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm not going to put these links on the internet, so you have to message me for these links. So you are going to message me, you're going to watch it, and then you're going to pop over on Instagram or Facebook, and you're going to DM me for whatever links you want, okay? But my folks who are here in the room, here's the new client tracker. This is a Google Doc. You're going to be excited about this. And I've formulated the document so you can just click it and make a copy. And then you can edit that copy to your heart's content because it's not my copy. It's your own copy. You can edit it to your heart's content. And I hope you enjoy working with that. Okay, so have a luxurious 9 minutes left. Oh my God. I'm so proud of myself for getting through all of these talking points in 51 minutes. So that means we have 9 minutes for Q&A. I am so curious if anybody has a question who's in the space with me today.
There's a couple in the chat that people have popped in.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you. And for those of you watching on the replay, if you do have a question, you can post it in the comments because I'll get pinged when you post on my YouTube channel in the comments and I will answer. Or if it's a private question, you can DM me on the socials and I will absolutely get back to you. Okay, Doe says, thanks, Kiki. A lot of great ideas. Let's see. I'm going to scroll up and just see what I missed. How have you leveraged Google Ads successfully? This is from Rachel. I have paid tons of money in the past without significant sale from them. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay. Um, First of all, I don't know a lick about ads. Like, I know a lot about messaging and offers, but I don't run my own ads. I hire an ads manager for both my Google ads and then in my coaching business, I run sometimes Meta ads. and they run ads and they do coach me a little bit here and there because they're tracking the data like every single day. They're like, oh, this one's working, it's converting well. This one, I think we should change this. It's like too complicated. Let's simplify, or we need more creative from you. We need something new. So they do coach me a little bit about it. But here's what I'll tell you about the Google ads. The Google ads, we didn't quite work at first. Like we had to we didn't even really change the strategy. The strategy the whole time was this. We run Google ads to my my best converting front door offer, which is a $99 one-off private session. That for me, that's my best one. I have like a 2-week class pack. I have a couple different intro offers. And I had to play around with intro offers to like really figure out what is the best one, at least right now. I know they kind of have their own cycle. So I have like 4 different intro offers. But this particular one is priced pretty nicely. $99 is pretty like attractive to my clientele. It's an easy yes because it's like a one-time thing as opposed to like a month-long unlimited, which is actually too much for a cold audience. So we were really mindful about like this is a cold audience. How do we make it easy for them to say yes? And I want to say that we had already tested this offer organically and we knew it was working both to track people organically, but also to convert them to membership on the back end. So all of that was before we ran the ad. We figured out the offer, we tested it a million times, we made sure it was converting well. Then I was like, okay, now I can put some money into this because I've tested it and I know it's going to work. And then once we got it out there, essentially it's just really simple. Our ad strategy is let's see who's calling me there. Our ad strategy is just like local ads, people around in a certain mile radius. It's people who search for like Pilates near me or Pilates Berkeley. It's just like very simple, like not scientific. Um, and then our very strong branding pops up in this ad. So it's like inclusive, like fat friendly, like it actually says all the things that I was telling you about. Like it takes a stand. It stands out from all of the other Pilates studios in town because it takes a stand on being inclusive. And so many people come to us like, oh my God, I saw your website or I saw your ad and I knew this place would be finally like my place. Um, and so it goes, and then we tested just one last thing about it. I could talk to you more about this, Rachel, but we because it wasn't quite working at first, we tested a few different things. Like we tested, like, what if we just run the ad straight to our homepage? Or what if we run the ad to a specific sales page that's about this single private session? And we kind of played around with it to see, like, we just tracked the numbers for, 3 weeks and was like, what's working better? So we did do some testing and experimenting, and of course that cost me money. But I find that with the support of my ads manager, that whole testing, spending money before I'm making money thing feels less scary because it doesn't feel like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall. It feels like I'm doing smart, intelligent testing, with tracking the numbers and then deciding just based on straight up numbers, like what's working or not. Um, yeah, and we do get sales from them, and and that's part of my ads manager job is to track what sales are coming through. It's a little bit imperfect because Google likes to claim a lot of sales that maybe aren't from our ads. Um, but we do track that, so I'm able to see the return on investment, which is useful, right? Okay. Next question. Katerina, let's see. Pilates has experienced a huge boom in recent years. I'm wondering how studios that focus mostly on yoga have been faring in the current conditions. Does it make a difference? I don't know. I mean, there's actually some yoga studio owners in the house right now. Maybe they could tell you more, but I mean, some of my clients who are running yoga studios are killing it right now, and some of them aren't. For me, I won't go into detail, but I had to pivot away from yoga and move towards Pilates for various reasons. Um, what I'll say about that, Katerina, is like, I don't think you should take that on as your mindset. If you feel aligned to teaching yoga and like that is how you're here to walk in the world, let's just find a way to make it work. The minute you start telling yourself like, oh, this isn't going to work because people aren't into this anymore, it's not. it's not going to work. But mostly because you're not into it anymore, you know? Um,
Can I share something as someone who just went
yeah,
through?
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been offering power yoga, and some Pilates instructors just fell into my lap because there was a big walkout of a studio in Berkeley that everyone hates now, and they were looking for work, a heated
Oh,
studio.
okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And also some trainers who were like, hey, we really want to have strength and conditioning with hand weights. And can you buy some, resistance bands and invest in this kind of equipment, stuff like that. And so because the instructors came to me, I think it worked. I wasn't looking to add it. It's just the students were liking it, and these instructors were friends of other instructors. And so it kind of organically grew, and now it really works. But I would say we didn't shift our focus off yoga. We're still called a yoga studio and a power yoga studio. And, again, maybe what happened is some of the people who wanted the more intense classes would shift over to that. And, it didn't necessarily hurt the yoga teachers. What we do find, and this always has happened in the past, is like the newer teachers, the newer yoga teachers still struggle, whereas the established ones are doing well. And then the folks that we added in the Pilates are all very experienced, and they're not new teachers, so they have done well. So I honestly don't know if it's because they're more experienced, yada yada, or, and also I didn't like cancel a bunch of classes and change them to Pilates. We added them on top of the offering. So I think that felt better than like, oh, we're taking this away and moving this over here. So that worked for us in a nutshell over the past year or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One last thing I'll add for Katerina, because I think you'll appreciate this, my friend, is that let me put my spotlight back on. What I've noticed, and maybe that this is just probably just my bias because of the kind of clients I attract. I attract people who are like in my business coaching programs who are like super soulful. They're like really dedicated to their craft. They're like, there's spiritual component to what they're doing in the world. So this is totally my bias. But what I've noticed amongst my clients is that the ones who are infusing more depth and soul into their teachings, like their delivery, are doing really well. And I do think that has to do with like how superficial everything is with fucking Instagram and all that crap. And also just how stressful life is right now. So I think the ones that are thriving are just going whole hog into like the yoga philosophy and like the depth, or like maybe if you're really into anatomy, like there's a studio down the street from me, and the owner's not here right now. Her name's Heather. Oh my God, that girl is killing it. She has 400 plus members, monthly members, in a one room yoga studio. She blows my mind all the time. And it's an Iyengar studio. It is like Iyengar. And like those people are just so dedicated to how they do the thing. And I just think because she just knows who she is, she knows who she's not. She's taken years to make this thing, but it is thriving in these times. So, yeah, hopefully that gives you, Katerina, a couple different perspectives and something useful to take away. Okay, any other questions in the chat? Let me just see if there's anything else in there. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good for Heather. I know, right? Clear brand definition. Yeah, she's rocking it. And Katerina shares, yes, depth and anatomy are my vibe. I knew that about you, Katerina, 1,000%. And I have felt concerned about the way things are trending. I know, don't go for the trends. That's what I'm telling you. Okay, so maybe this is how I want to finish today, is to tell you that what's really worked for me in 2025 is saying, F the trends. I know who I am. I know what I'm here for. I'm just going to do it. And I'm not going to get thrown around by the trends. And that is really what I want you to take away from this. If that sounds good to you, that's working. It is working right now. So please, full permission to to make a trend-free business that just like has principles and has values and stands behind them. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I'll leave you with that. Mwah. Many blessings to all of you. And I will talk to you real soon. Have a good one. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.